Hello there, and welcome to my usual Sky Dailies. My name is Flicker, and today I'll be getting those daily missions, daily quests, whatever the fuck they're called, done. Also, I was talking to Lillian about that little story that she's bouncing off of an AI, because that's really all she's doing is bouncing it, rather than having it completely write for her, which I think is at least better than having it completely AI written without any editing. But that's its own thing. That's its own rabbit hole of discussion and conversation. But yeah, no, she was sharing like one of the narrative timeline events of all that. And we got into talking about how regular guns don't scale. And I got to add in my little bit of my own ideas to the pile, because it ended up culminating in this idea of the weapons and armor, the weapons that people use, as if they've truly mastered them, they can use them as extensions of themselves without the physical object. But that's like the peak, and everyone else still needs to use the physical object and be able to trace the puzzle or the blueprint in the weapon properly, match the power flow and everything. So at that point, then, tracing out the puzzle becomes something that you either learn to do on instinct, or or it backfires on you. And I just love it. That's one narrative idea I just love to no end. And I don't know if that's a battle junkie tendency or whatnot, but the idea of someone wielding a weapon or something, or armor or tools or whatever the fuck, as an extension of themselves, that's just so fucking cool. I want to be that fucking confident, but I'm a mess. Oh. And we also thought up an idea for why only gunners can use magic guns. Because their mana type is different. Gunner's gunner mana is something that they can project visibly and isn't invisible, and they can sense it and feel the shape of it and control it a lot better than regular mages can, or anyone else who uses mana with whatever the fuck else they're doing. So to a mage, or anyone else who doesn't have a gunner class, it's like they try to interface with it like they would a spell, and it just doesn't work. It's like static and noise to them. Meanwhile, gunners can start figuring out the puzzle and everything, and I just find that fucking delicious. Yeah, no, the idea of making something, a tool, a weapon, an understanding, an extension of yourself, that seems to be a fundamental core idea in my structure that I absolutely love. Because even if I can't mentally synthesize or draw out my structure on a cognitive level, I can feel it on some level subconsciously. And I can make parallels and associations via fiction and metaphors. A psychological architect. But rather than just trying to pry get the architecture to output a specific thing I want via social engineering, I'm actually trying to understand the architecture and learning how to learning how to trace healthy patterns across different architectures and see which patterns fit for different people. Because that's like teaching a concept to a person and tearing down a false worldview to rebuild it as a healthier perspective. I can deconstruct and reconstruct things in my head, and I love it. I hope I never get to do so to the point where I can read people like a book, though. That would get boring fast, because then I'd stop respecting them as people. I'd stop being able to find casual engagements fun, and I think that's a subconscious limit that's going to stay in place for a damn long time. After all, just because I can read someone doesn't mean that I get to use that to my advantage. Ew. Skill set is meant to help people heal and grow, not to manipulate them. Will I manipulate if I think someone's better off not knowing, or if it takes time? Yeah. Because if I were to just try and shove a concept in when they're not ready for it or they're unaccepting, then that's just bad practice. Oh, nice. That's a new guideline and that my brain is starting to internalize now. Which allows me to present challenges to people without necessarily requiring to present the challenge to them every time. So that way it's something they can opt into when they're comfortable. Alright, that sounds like a good idea. Here's hoping I'll be able to implement it properly. I don't want to learn the jargon, I want to learn the feeling of the psychological structure, be able to trace thought process across it, to see the gaps in understandings and perspectives and bridge them between each other without creating dissonance. An interconnected network of understandings that can help other people get back on their feet even from their lowest points. That would be fucking awesome. But it would require a high level of empathy, communication, intuition, and a lot of maturity. So I'm a long ways off from getting that yet, because I'm still an immature dumbass. After all. The only person I've actually ever been able to predict or read to some degree of consistency without needing them to be in front of me with their body language would probably be the Dunstork. But that's assuming I'm right about them, and I don't want to make that assumption. Brain, please, stop telling me I'm correct. I get it. But it's not safe for me to fucking accept such an answer, because then the mania kicks in and gets really fucking annoying. I don't want to be that version of me, thank you. Not unless it's going to be used as a challenge or a learning opportunity for someone else. And I think that's part of why I'm still hesitating on letting go. Because I don't want to take that learning opportunity away from them in the potential to face just the insecure part of myself and actually confront it and handle it without succumbing to internalized expectations or what they think the other person wants. I want them to have actual fucking boundaries. Boundaries that persist even in the midst of conflict. No matter how heated the conflict gets. Because at that point, they then have a greater degree of control and understanding of themselves, and thus are going to be safer when confronted with awkward or weird situations, even if they still struggle to find their own words. They'll at least be better equipped. It's the only reason why cooking didn't... That really is a reason that fits decently with what my cognitive process was back then. I didn't have the words for it back then, but yeah. I let my insecure self be for a while, both because trying to suppress her completely would be near impossible. Well, that's reclaiming agency. My insecure self is still capable of subverting me. Yeah, and that's because, frankly speaking, if I don't respect my insecure self, then how am I going to be there for myself? Doesn't mean I have to agree with or like my insecure self, but if I want to let my insecure self learn an emotional lesson, then blocking it off completely just doesn't do any good. But to give up attachment to the dense dork would then give up access to that opportunity. At the same time, I don't want us to be taken for granted or taken advantage of by someone who wouldn't return the same favor, even if they knew how to do it. They don't know how to do what we're doing, and I'm not going to ever ask them to. But internally, from my mental model of the dense dork, even if they knew how to do the same things as us, they wouldn't choose to. That's just where they're at. And I'm not going to shame them for their choice in that regard. I'll keep it in mind, I'll try to look out for myself, and that's it. Alright. Tsundere. Wonder if it's embarrassing to her being attached to someone. Or if it's just her feeling overwhelmed. Because at this point, gnawing on my model of the dense dork is still a habit that I enjoy. Okay, that wasn't my smartest plan, but damn it, I didn't want the crabs flipped over. I wanted them all in one corner so that way other people wouldn't have to worry about them as much. I know it's only a temporary solution, but still. Well... And so the crabs could then live peacefully. I swear, if I get a chisel tool and I can just record myself chipping away at that corner of the wall and eventually it gets carved, that would be so funny and silly. Like, make an actual pen for the crabs and light that area back up a little. I did know. Why is Cicada all the way over there? Okay. Uh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, when I was younger, I had the line of thought of, well, if I can't control others, what if I just gain total control over myself? And as I've grown older, I've come to realize that it's not possible to the degree that my younger self imagined. Because I need my own cooperation from myself if I'm going to pull something off. And if they don't agree, then I'm kind of just stuck putting my efforts in seeing what half the result I can get. I don't get to just force myself to be a certain way. Even if I would love for it to be that convenient, I actually have to listen to my own body and needs to at least a minimum degree physically and a deep degree psychologically. I wonder if that dense stork will ever grow up and confront us, instead of pretending like everything's been swept under the rug. Because I think when they solve their whole avoiding things issue, that Lillian might actually be open to interaction again. Now, that's easier said than done because I don't know to what depth of overwhelm they feel in regards to all that. That I'm insane, that you don't love it. A little bit psycho, and I'm screaming out of my mind. At night I'm screaming out of my mind. People say run, don't walk away. I'm trying to at least be civil about it, though. I'm starting to grow into the idea that just because I want to be a clear communicator all the time doesn't mean that being a clear communicator all the time is necessarily useful to me. To be able to get results consistently and also leave people to leading their own lives, it's not just a matter of communicating clearly, but rather figuring out, okay, how do I frame this in a way that lets someone feel comfortable with it? Be it in the phrasing of my language or how I go about asking about it or talking about it. Because sometimes the framing's in the verbiage of things, and then sometimes it's the depth of the framing. Because if the framing goes to full depth, then some people are going to be overwhelmed and just say no flat out. But if they were to be framed to a shallow depth, that in a way that they can agree with, then yeah. However, I only want to use that in specific situations, emergency ones. Because the idea of getting what I want all the time, no thank you. No. Oh no. That's just too fucking boring. I don't want to become spoiled. And people say, run, don't walk away. That you don't love the pain. I'm on my mind. Damn it. Why are you... There we go. Got you away from the edge. Jeez. Don't like that one falling down there, because it just makes it more awkward. Control isn't security. Stability is security. And sure, you may need some control for stability, but you need more empathy for stability than control. Empathy, compassion, sympathy, patience, grace. Soft power is just as useful as hard, direct power. After all, you don't need to spend much effort convincing someone about something when they already trust you and know that you're not going to fucking betray them. That's the kind of depth that soft power operates around. It's a respect for trust instead of using trust as a currency. A respect for people via trust. Alright. Because manipulators and otherwise view trust as a currency. People who are purely selfish view it as a currency, and I don't like that idea at all. I hate that idea. It's reasons why different wanting. Yeah, no, I'm probably a sociopath. He's trying to be a decent person. As if I wasn't trying. I don't want to think about that possibility. No, thank you. No, thank you, 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 no, thank you. Nope, nope, nope. Get away from that concept. Kill it, bury it, incinerate it, let it fertilize my mental flowers, and never appear again. Just... Did I say I was trying to be a good person or a decent person? Because for all that I may want to attempt being a good person, getting focused on being a good person will get me addicted to and subverted by social paranoia and expectations. As such, it's better to aim at being at least a decent person bare minimum, so that way you have a firm foundation and can adapt to multiple situations and contexts instead of primarily prioritizing one opinion or another in multiple different contexts. Because the closer you get to a cold, hard binary, the more damage you do. Let alone using one idea everywhere without respecting the territory or the context you're using it in. That's what isolationists do. People say run, don't walk away. Again, convenience is a drug. Much like any other poison, it can have proper medical uses and cases of misuse. In cases of misuse, it basically harms people, be it the user or the person involved, or other people around the user. Can't live without it, but you also can't lose yourself to it, much like how apathy operates under the same function. Apathy is more of an internal drug, convenience is an external drug, psychologically. Sure, you can make choices that prioritize convenience from a psychological inner perspective, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be choosing convenience externally. Inconvenience is one step away from avoidance, so that explains neuroticism. Neuroticism. Neurosis. Okay. Alright. Nice trick. Let's continue. Oh. The opening of this Nightboard version of Sweet But a Psycho. I could get confused with the opening of another song close to me, but I've already got like a few other songs that do that. One or two, actually. Alright, I'll leave you to deal with that for now. Oh. Yeah, that's the one thing I don't like watching people's time get wasted. I like how that's evolved from I don't like my time getting wasted to I don't like watching people's time getting wasted. People say run, don't walk away. Oh, cool. Also, just because I think something would help someone doesn't mean it would necessarily help them live the life that they want to live. That's one of the other things I'd like to know, is what kind of life is the dense dork wanting to live? Because it doesn't matter a million plans I can draft in my mind if I'm not actually respecting them as a person. Good song, but nah. That would be interesting. I just wanna be crazy, baby, slip into this hot gives up. I'm not doing this whole area. Ooh. Oh, that was confusing. Neat. Oh. Huh. Interesting song. Already listened to it at least once. Wait, why is this over here? You know what? I might as well listen to this. Hmm? Where are the lyrics? Oh, I want to know what the lyric. Whoa, that's cool as hell. I just had a really, really interesting and dumb idea. If the void keeps expanding like that of a bubble, and galaxies and everything keep getting separated from each other over time by these expanding bubbles of the dark energy and dark matter, then what would happen if you were to use gravitational slingshotting to set everything on a collision course to the center of that void? Would it accelerate the birth of a new galaxy? Let's add a bit of light. And stability. The silly games my delusions have me thinking I'm playing. Because the void is a part of the structure. And if the void keeps expanding, then ultimately my theory about reality might actually be correct. That the concepts of reality reference each other and recurse upon each other to birth new concepts and ideas. That the minimum amount of magic and absurdity that you need in a universe is just the simple idea of a nothingness being able to multiply itself, and nothingness being able to share space with itself to work towards somethingness. Two zeros overlapping, or two bits of dark energy colliding. Interesting. Because that then gives a reason for dark energy to be the opposite of gravity, and yet it keeps getting subverted by gravity no matter how many times it happens. So that then creates a parallel to a social contract, where the void made a deal with the absurdity in an effort to kill it and become the top thing in the universe. But in doing so, it proved its own childishness. And the next step of maturity is learning to share space with others so as to have more influence and breathing room instead of the same pressure all around. However, then that would create dissonance within the structure of the void, and so at smaller scales, the void would send in its compliant zeros or its compliant parts to try and destroy those particles as they're created, which then causes the static of scale to become a factor, and differences between moments over over consistent scale becomes an effort of time. Well, time is first, but scale is next. Well, scale and time are both intertwined. Reality only exists from one moment to the next, and the only thing logged are the changes. A persistent state of present moving into a new state. Which means that we could technically have a tick rate to our very universe's existence and never know it, because we just live at a different scale that can't measure it properly. Neat. I'm never gonna do the math on all this, though. I'll leave that to the fucking people who are willing to dive into the rabbit holes of each concept. The dark void being related to water, the bright void being related to clouds, the gray void, the dull void being related to machinery. And the colorful void Alright, I'm gonna have to complete this thought before continuing, because it just ate up more memory space than I wanted to give it. Because of my interest. Oh. An autopilot malfunction because of that memory space being intruded upon. Sentimental or colorful space being related to life and organics. Logical or dull void space being related to machinery and structure. Yeah. Yeah, I'll probably never have the dense dork in my life. I hate that. But fundamentally... my torch went out? No. No. Eh. No, Yeah, no, I'm having a hard time not giving up on the idea of anything, really. They have a good life. Yeah. Void water can hydrate and let things grow, but it takes, in turn, slowly draining life and color out of whatever is watered with it. Things that have learned to survive and continue growing without getting drained are still changed, no longer tangible, no longer colorful in the sense that they used to be. No longer staying completely in one space as they get closer to the void. A step away, becoming a shadow of the plants themselves, becoming a shadow, an outline, a hologram almost. And when something finally dies like that, the only thing left behind is an absence. The outline of the object, not the details. And even then, it slowly rots into nothing. Wait, nope, 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 no. Thank fuck. I wanna free these. I don't give a damn if they think they deserve me or not. Just wish they'd be fucking honest. Be it in dismissing me properly and thoroughly. Or whatever the fuck else there is, I don't know. The void keeps calling me in. void keeps pulling me in. It's time that I move on. I hope the dense dork miss void water. Oh, thanks for putting these wandering lights here and forcing me to the fucking ground. It's almost like you don't want me to enjoy flying. Didn't think that one through, did you? Okay, I get it. I don't have to stand in the circle. Mm. Mm. No, power enables. It's through enabling things that the corruption inherent in someone gets a chance to bloom. And it was earlier I was looking at this like, why are you doing this? And now I get to be in the same spot. And it's like, oh yeah, we've got a mission today. Yeah. Yeah. Probably took about the same time as going the regular route. Hmm. Why would I do that? Hmm. Okay. Now what? That didn't work. Okay. No, at this rate, I'm starting to think that our differences are just too much. Hmm. I'm not sure why I came in here. Brain misjudged. Yeah. It's time that I move on. No. Oh. Oh, it keeps pulling me in. Oh. In emergency situations, you can water a plant with void water for like a day or two. But if you don't get it back, but if you don't have at least a week or more between the times of hydrating it with void water, if you don't have a week of being able to hydrate it with regular water, then eventually that plant is going to start. Yeah. It wouldn't even be that not very many plants out in the void would actually turn up into absences before fading away. That would be like a final stage. That would be like a final stage for like some of the strongest plants, for things that never got truly subverted by the void water. I don't know. That would definitely hollow out those plants. Even if they manage to retain their outline, their details would fade. And as a plant lady, that's not good. The hell is, oh, local event. Days of Bloom. Alright. No thanks. I don't want to follow along that little spark when it doesn't do me any good. It's time that I'm gone. Fucking hell. Hmm. 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 Oh, it keeps pulling me in. Now. That would definitely be an interesting detail. Uh, okay, but then what's this one over here? Wisdom and depths? Well, that just... Or was it depths and then wisdom? Probably that order, since one of them didn't have its surface showing. Never let go, never give in. Let myself through that. Okay, alright. I won't then. Because that part is... yeah. Won't like it, but... if I were to communicate that detail, I would be setting myself just to get taken advantage of again. To just push my limits until I'm nearly used up, and push them away again. That's not a solution. That's just repeating the cycle of history. The void keeps pulling me in. It's time that I'm gone. Yeah, no. If I ever were to meet and talk with them again, I'd probably make the request that either I'm allowed to hide their avatar consistently, or that they only wear gremlin avatars around me. done this yet. That will explain the hot minute. Jeez. Don't need to bug out like that. And I can't breathe. No. I'd say that was a far better spot for Crystal Shard. Yeah, no, I'm not strong enough to wait forever. Mm. I'm too tired to play into view. Mm. Oh. No, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, let's just head to bed. It's time that I move on. I at least gave it a good fight. Yeah. To those of you who snuck by and saw fragments of this recording, thank you. To those of you who stuck around and watched a good chunk through, I deeply appreciate it. I hope you all have a good day, good night, whatever time or non-time it is. If it isn't good, you're feeling stuck, lonely, lost, scared, confused, frustrated. Well, I hope that things either improve for you, that the chaos both outside and within stays manageable enough, or at the very least that you're able to find some place to sit, rest, and vent from, without hurting yourself or others if you can so help it. It's okay to take up space around those who aren't going to get hurt by you doing so. But it's also okay to take up space around those who might get hurt but do care and still care about you. Because to try to protect people from their own pain, their own struggles and growths, does not help them. Oh, I'm tired. In any case, my name is Flicker. I've got my Sky Dailies done. So I'll be seeing you all in the next recording while I watch links. Bye.